Picture this. You open your eyes to a new morning, but something feels different. There's no smell of coffee brewing in the kitchen, no sizzling bacon on the stove, no toast popping up with that familiar crunch. Your stomach isn't rumbling yet, but your mind is already racing with a strange realization. Today, you'll eat only once, just one meal, not 3, not 5 small portions scattered throughout the day, but one single sitting. The very thought might make you uncomfortable, maybe even a little anxious. For most of us, food isn't just fuel, it's comfort, routine, distraction, celebration. We've built our entire lives around eating multiple times a day. But what if everything we've been told about eating is wrong? What if the body you live in every single day has been waiting for you to unlock a hidden mode, a primal power that only awakens when you stop feeding it constantly? What if hunger isn't the enemy we've been taught to fear, but a teacher we've forgotten how to listen to? This isn't about starvation. It's not about punishing yourself or chasing some impossible fitness trend. This is about biology, about evolution, about the extraordinary things that happen inside your body when you give it permission to do what it was designed to do. Because deep inside you, beneath all the modern habits and cultural conditioning, lies an ancient rhythm. Your ancestors lived by it, they thrived by it, and whether you realize it or not, that same rhythm is still there, pulsing quietly, waiting to be reawakened. So before you dismiss the idea of eating once a day as extreme or impossible, stay with me, because what you're about to discover might completely change the way you think about food, energy, and your own body's incredible potential. Let's start with the obvious question. Why does the idea of eating once a day feel so uncomfortable? It's because we've been conditioned from childhood to believe that missing a meal is dangerous. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day, they said. You need to eat every few hours to keep your metabolism running, they said. Skipping meals will make you weak, cranky, and unable to function. But here's the truth that no one talks about. Human evolution wasn't shaped by abundance, it was shaped by scarcity. Our ancestors didn't wake up to fully stocked refrigerators. They didn't have drive-thrus or vending machines. They hunted, they gathered, and they often went long stretches without food. And not only did they survive, they thrived. Their bodies became incredibly efficient at managing energy, storing fat for lean times, and staying sharp even when food was nowhere in sight. That's the biology you inherited. That's the system still running inside you, even though modern life has buried it under layers of convenience and constant consumption. When you eat once a day, you're not doing something radical or new. You're tapping into something ancient, something your body already knows how to do. You're giving it a chance to remember what it's capable of. And the changes that follow aren't just physical, they're mental, emotional, even spiritual. Because hunger, real hunger, has a way of stripping away the noise and bringing you face to face with your own resilience. It teaches you that you're stronger than you think, that your body's smarter than you've been led to believe, and that discipline isn't about deprivation, it's about alignment with your deepest nature. Now let's talk about what actually happens inside your body when you stop eating for several hours. At first, it feels like rebellion. Your stomach starts to growl. Your head might feel a little light. Your thoughts keep drifting back to food, almost like an itch you can't scratch. This is your body's alarm system kicking in. A hormone called ghrelin starts flooding your bloodstream, sending urgent signals to your brain. Find food now. But here's the interesting part. This isn't real hunger, not yet. It's panic. It's a reflex designed to keep you alive in a world where food was scarce and unpredictable. Your body doesn't know that you live in a time of abundance. It only knows the ancient script, the one that says hunger equals danger. But then something remarkable happens. After a few hours, the noise starts to quiet down, the panic fades, your body realizes that food isn't coming anytime soon, and instead of shutting down, it shifts gears. Hormones recalibrate, energy reserves activate, and surprisingly, instead of feeling weaker, many people report feeling more focused, more alert, more mentally sharp. This isn't a coincidence, it's evolution's masterpiece. When our ancestors were hungry, they needed clarity and energy to hunt, to forage, to survive. Weakness would have meant death. So the body learned to turn hunger into a state of heightened awareness, a biological advantage that's still encoded in your DNA today.
What feels like discomfort on the surface is actually your body preparing itself, waking up systems that have been asleep for too long.
And this brings us to a fascinating realization. Most of the hunger we experience isn't real. It's learned. It's conditioned. We eat because the clock tells us to, not because our bodies genuinely need fuel. Studies have shown that much of what we perceive as hunger is actually habit, routine, or emotional craving. We eat because we're bored, stressed, sad, or simply because food is there. The brain has learned to associate certain times of the day with eating, and when those times arrive, it sends out hunger signals, even if your body doesn't actually need calories. Over time, we've become slaves to these signals, mistaking psychological cravings for physiological need. But when you stop eating multiple times a day, something extraordinary happens. The brain begins to recalibrate. Within just 72 hours of intermittent fasting, ghrelin levels start to stabilize. The constant noise of false hunger begins to fade, and for the first time, you start to hear your body's authentic signals. You begin to understand the difference between real hunger, the kind driven by genuine physiological need, and emotional hunger, the kind driven by stress, habit, or boredom. This shift is powerful because it reveals just how dependent we've become on constant stimulation. Food has stopped being about survival and become about satisfaction, entertainment, comfort. By eating once a day, you strip away all that noise and start listening to your body's true voice, and what it tells you might surprise you. Now let's dive into the metabolic magic that happens when you skip your usual meals. The moment you stop eating, your blood sugar begins to drop. Your body, sensing this change, calls upon its reserves. The liver releases stored glucose, keeping your energy balanced so you don't collapse. This is your body's short-term backup plan, and it works beautifully. But as the hours stretch on, around 12 to 16 hours into fasting, something more profound begins. Your body runs out of easily accessible sugar, and it has to make a choice: panic or adapt. And evolution chose adaptation. Your body transitions from burning sugar to burning fat. This metabolic shift is called metabolic flexibility, and it's one of the most powerful adaptations your body is capable of. For the first time in years, maybe decades, your cells start tapping into your internal reserves. They begin burning stored fat for energy, not because you're starving, but because you've finally given your body permission to access the fuel it's been storing all along. And as insulin levels drop, something else happens. Inflammation begins to calm. Scientists have discovered that reduced insulin activity doesn't just help with weight regulation, it improves mental clarity, supports cellular repair, and reduces chronic inflammation throughout the body. It's as if your entire system finally gets a chance to take a deep breath after years of metabolic chaos. But this balance is delicate. The body must carefully manage every calorie, every molecule of energy. Push too hard, go too extreme, and the system can tip from strength into stress. This is where wisdom comes in, knowing when to push and when to rest. Insulin is the quiet conductor of your entire metabolic orchestra. Every time you eat, insulin rushes into your bloodstream, signaling your cells to store energy. It's a necessary process, but when it happens constantly all day long, insulin levels never get a chance to drop. Your cells become resistant. Your body stays locked in storage mode, never switching to burn mode. But when you eat once a day, insulin finally gets a long overdue rest. It stays low for most of the day, and your metabolism shifts from storing fat to burning it. Scientific studies have shown that lower insulin levels improve insulin sensitivity, meaning your body becomes more efficient at using fuel. This process can reverse early signs of diabetes, reduce systemic inflammation, and even boost longevity. By eating less often, you're allowing insulin to rediscover its natural rhythm, the rhythm it was designed to follow before food became available 24/7.
But here's the truth. This transformation isn't instant, and it's not always comfortable. During the first few days, your body resists. You might feel tired, irritable, even a little dizzy. These are symptoms of a system recalibrating itself, learning to manage energy the way it was designed to, long before food was always within reach. Your metabolism is essentially relearning an old skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. But once insulin stabilizes, once your body finds its rhythm, something beautiful happens. Fat starts melting away, not as punishment, but as purpose. You're no longer feeding constantly. You're freeing your body to heal, to adapt, to evolve, just as it was meant to. And this is where things get truly fascinating. After hours without food, the body enters a state scientists call metabolic switching. It's not starvation, it's strategy. Every cell adjusts, every hormone recalibrates. The body no longer expects energy from the outside, it starts producing it from within. Fat reserves, once hidden and untouched, now become the main source of fuel. And here's where the magic deepens. The mitochondria, those tiny power plants inside every cell, become more efficient. They learn to burn fat instead of sugar, a process that releases cleaner energy and fewer free radicals. It's like switching your engine from cheap, dirty fuel to premium, high-performance fuel. Everything runs smoother, cleaner, more efficiently. As the body adapts, the mind follows. Many people who practice eating once a day describe entering a state of unusual clarity and calm. It's as if the constant noise of hunger, cravings, and blood sugar crashes fades into the background, replaced by a steady, focused energy. This isn't placebo, it's biology. Evolution designed this brilliance for one simple purpose: survival. When our ancestors were hungry, they couldn't afford to be sluggish or foggy-minded. They needed sharp senses, quick reflexes, and mental clarity to find food. So the body learned to perform better under stress, not worse. And that same ancient mechanism still works today, buried beneath layers of modern comfort, waiting to be activated. Your body isn't breaking down when you fast, it's waking up. Hunger is no longer a threat, it becomes a teacher, reminding you just how adaptable, how resilient, how powerful the human organism truly is. When your body shifts fully into fat-burning mode, something almost magical happens beneath the surface. The liver begins producing ketone bodies, small, powerful molecules that serve as an alternative energy source for both the brain and muscles. These ketones are clean, efficient, and surprisingly potent. In this metabolic state, energy levels don't drop, they rise. The brain, which normally depends almost entirely on glucose, learns to thrive on ketones, and studies have shown that this shift can improve focus, reduce anxiety, enhance memory, and even protect against neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. It's the biological equivalent of upgrading your brain's operating system to something faster, smarter, more resilient. But let's be honest, this transformation doesn't come without discomfort. The first few days can bring fatigue, irritability, headaches, and what people often call the keto flu. Your body is withdrawing from its sugar dependency, and like any withdrawal, it's not pleasant. But once the transition completes, most people report a profound sense of balance, a steadiness that comes from no longer being chained to constant sugar crashes and energy swings. This invisible miracle, the body feeding on its own reserves, cleaning itself from the inside out, is proof of evolution's brilliance. Your fat stores were never meant to be permanent fixtures. They were designed to sustain you, to carry you through times of scarcity. When you eat once a day, you're simply reminding your biology to do what it was built to do. Around 16 to 20 hours into fasting, something even more profound begins. A silent revolution takes place at the cellular level. Damaged proteins, malfunctioning organelles, and cellular debris are broken down and recycled in a process known as autophagy, literally self-eating. It sounds strange, even a little unsettling, but it's actually one of the body's most sophisticated self-repair mechanisms. Think of it as your cell's internal recycling program. Old, broken parts are dismantled, and their components are reused to build new, healthier structures. This isn't a new discovery, it's ancient biology. In 2016, Japanese scientist Yoshino Osumi won the Nobel Prize for uncovering the details of how autophagy works.
His research revealed that this process is so vital to human health that when it fails, diseases like cancer, Alzheimer's, and heart disease begin to take hold. But when autophagy is activated through fasting, through giving your body time to rest and repair, cells rejuvenate themselves with microscopic precision. Think of autophagy as your body's spring cleaning. While you're busy living your life, your cells are quietly dismantling the old and damaged, making room for the new and efficient. It's not just about looking better or losing weight, it's about functioning better at the most fundamental level. Fasting gives your body the time and space to do this deep cellular work, the kind of healing that constant eating never allows. This phase might not feel dramatic on the surface, you might not notice anything at all, but deep inside, your biology is performing a masterpiece, a molecular symphony of renewal that may hold the secret to longevity itself.
But fasting isn't just a physical process, it's deeply psychological. When the brain senses a lack of food, it triggers a complex web of reactions, some primal, others emotional. At first, this can feel chaotic, mood swings, irritability, cravings. But over time, something remarkable happens. The brain begins to rewire itself. Fasting increases the production of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. This protein stimulates the growth of new neurons and strengthens existing ones. In simple terms, fasting can literally make your brain stronger, more resilient, more adaptable. Studies suggest it enhances learning, memory, and even resistance to stress. People who practice one meal a day eating often describe an unexpected calmness, a mental clarity that feels almost meditative. Thoughts become sharper, emotions steadier. It's as if the mind finally breaks free from the constant roller coaster of sugar highs and crashes. Hunger no longer controls you. You begin to control hunger. And in a world built on instant gratification, learning to wait, to truly feel hunger without immediately satisfying it, becomes a form of mental training. Each hour without food is a quiet exercise in discipline, resilience, and self-awareness. It teaches you that discomfort isn't dangerous, that you can sit with a craving and watch it pass, that your worth isn't tied to constant consumption. These lessons extend far beyond food. They ripple into every area of life, teaching patience, focus, and the power of delayed gratification. But for all its benefits, eating once a day is not without risks. The body may adapt beautifully, but not every system responds the same way. Some people experience chronic fatigue, low blood pressure, hormonal imbalances, or nutrient deficiencies. The challenge isn't just physical, it's biological balance. When your eating window is too short, your body can struggle to absorb all the nutrients it needs. Muscles may begin to weaken. The immune system can take a hit. Women, in particular, may experience disruptions in menstrual cycles due to changes in hormones like leptin and estrogen. These aren't minor issues. They're signals that the body is under stress, not thriving. Psychologically, this routine can also blur into obsession. The pursuit of control can cross into anxiety, into an unhealthy relationship with food, disguised as discipline. Even science agrees, fasting is powerful, but it's not for everyone. The dark side of this method isn't in the fasting itself, it's in forgetting that food is more than fuel. It's connection, culture, care. It's the meals we share with loved ones, the traditions we pass down, the joy we find in flavors and textures and experiences. Balance, not extremes, is what keeps the human body and mind truly alive. Eating once a day sounds like a miracle fix, but science reminds us that every body is unique. For some, this rhythm unlocks boundless energy, sharper focus, effortless weight control. For others, it brings exhaustion, mood swings, hormonal chaos. The truth is not universal, it's personal. Athletes, for instance, might struggle with muscle loss if they can't fit enough protein and nutrients into a single meal. People with diabetes or thyroid conditions may face dangerous fluctuations in blood sugar or metabolism.
Women whose hormonal systems are exquisitely sensitive to caloric restriction may experience cycle disruptions, fatigue, and fertility issues. These aren't minor issues, they're signals that the body is under stress, not thriving. On the other hand, those dealing with inflammation, insulin resistance, or early metabolic syndrome can benefit immensely. Controlled fasting can reduce inflammatory markers, lower blood sugar levels, stimulate cellular repair, all supported by rigorous research from institutions like Harvard, Stanford, and the National Institutes of Health. The lesson here is clear. Eating once a day is not a universal answer. It's a biological tool. And like any tool, it can heal or harm depending on how it's wielded, how it's applied, and whether it's right for you. For decades, scientists have searched for the secret to longevity, the reason some people seem to defy time, living longer, healthier, more vibrant lives. Surprisingly, many clues lead back to the same concept: caloric restriction and metabolic rest. When the body spends more time repairing than digesting, something extraordinary happens. It begins to preserve itself. Animal studies from the National Institute on Aging show that fasting can extend lifespan by up to 30%. In humans, the data points to improved mitochondrial health, reduced inflammation, delayed onset of age-related diseases. Fasting doesn't make you immortal, but it optimizes the machinery that keeps you alive. It gives your cells time to clean, repair, and regenerate. It reduces oxidative stress, the kind of damage that accumulates over time and leads to aging and disease. Beyond biology, fasting also influences the mind and spirit. It increases clarity, emotional stability, and even gratitude. The first bite of food after 24 hours isn't just a meal, it's an awakening. Your senses sharpen, flavors become more vivid, and you realize that hunger has taught you something profound: the power of restraint, the beauty of simplicity, the joy of truly savoring something instead of mindlessly consuming it. Perhaps longevity isn't just about living longer. Perhaps it's about living more consciously, more intentionally, one meal at a time. Long before science had words like autophagy or ketones, ancient civilizations practiced what we now call intermittent fasting. Greek philosophers like Hippocrates recommended fasting for healing. Spiritual traditions across India, Egypt, Japan, and the Middle East used fasting as a path to clarity, renewal, and connection with something greater. They didn't have data, they had intuition, they had centuries of observation, and they understood something we're only now rediscovering: that the body thrives not in constant consumption, but in cycles of feast and famine. Hunter-gatherers didn't plan their meals, they survived between them. Their bodies learned to thrive in rhythms perfectly attuned to nature, eating when food was available, fasting when it wasn't. That same rhythm still beats inside you. The difference is that modern comfort has silenced it, buried it under layers of convenience and abundance. Today, when we choose to eat once a day, we're not adopting a new trend, we're returning to an ancient pattern. We're syncing our biology with a wisdom older than civilization itself. And in doing so, we rediscover a kind of strength that modern life has nearly forgotten. Maybe that's why when you fast, you don't just feel different, you feel connected to your ancestors, to your instincts, to the timeless dialogue between hunger and survival. You feel part of something larger, something evolutionary, something deeply human. If your body could speak after a day without food, it wouldn't beg you to eat, it would thank you. It would whisper that for once it had time to repair, to clean, to breathe. Every cell would tell you how good it feels to not be flooded constantly by sugar and insulin, how silence feels better than constant noise. But it would also remind you of balance. Fasting is a tool, not a religion. The human body was designed for flexibility, to feast, to fast, to adapt. Going to extremes is not evolution's way. Harmony is. Eating once a day can awaken dormant powers within you, but it must always be guided by awareness, care, and respect for your unique biology. Science has given names to these ancient instincts: ketosis, autophagy, metabolic switching, but their essence is older than language itself. Fasting isn't about denial, it's about discovery. It teaches us that true nourishment begins long before the first bite. It shows us that hunger, when listened to with curiosity instead of fear, can be a wise and patient teacher. So if your body could speak, it would tell you this: feed me when it's time, but don't be afraid to let me rest. I've known how to survive far longer than you've known how to eat. Trust me, I remember the way.